Oh, I'm going to do a bowl of cherries for you. That'll make a change, won't it? I've chosen these colours for the red cherries that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to show you how I use them. But first of all, before I start, let me just show you something I did earlier. Now, what I do now, when I've got something new, I do a little preamble. This is the bowl that I'm going to use, and this is one of the cherries, and this is another cherry. You see, it looks lovely. And then I write down the numbers that I've got down here, which I find very, very useful. Okay, so it's just something that you can try yourself when you come across something that's different. Anyway, what I learned from that, now the colours I'm doing is, this is 118, that's 225, and this is obviously the white, and that one is 192, which is the Indian red, and the black. I'm going to start off with the cherry over here. Now, based on what I've already learned, I start off by putting the white in. Now the white goes in there, and this is the highlight. I've got to start with the white first, and that goes round here. Like that. Okay, now we know from experience that red is an awful colour to put onto something underneath, you know, a base colour underneath. So you put it directly onto the paper. Here I'm just going around it because, see, I don't want to interfere with the other colours. So I start off by very carefully putting the red in, and when I get to there, for the moment I'm going to ignore the white. It's the same as this, I'm going to ignore that just for the moment. So, and then it's going to look a bit odd when we first start out, but it won't stay that way for long. Now, as I say, there's no base colour under here, the red goes on directly. Had we put a base colour on, pink or some other suitable colour, we would have found that it would have been, you never got the red on. Red is a hard pencil, hard in terms of the pastel inside. Okay, now what I'm doing now is just filling up as many of the little holes without pressing too hard. That's the key to this, we don't want to press too hard, otherwise we're going to end up by crushing the paper, and that's what we don't want to do. Okay, so that is the first thing we do. Now the next thing we do is I'm going to go around the outside edge of that white there, and I'm just going to put an edge on. And that's all I'm going to do. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use, you can see I've already, this is right, my practice bit. I'm going to very carefully, and I say carefully because once again we don't want to press too hard, push the colour into the paper. Let me stop as I'm halfway along. There, you see the difference between the two? Okay, let's put this, finish this off. See there, doesn't that look good? Now what we do now is quite clever. We actually go in to the white. See that? And same there. Don't put the red on, we just use the colour shaper to blend it out. Excellent. Now we'll come back. Now, I need that to be darker, so I'll come over the darker colour here. This is 192. Once again, we don't want to press too hard. And although we think of cherry as being just red or black or yellow or whatever colour they are, you think they are, there's a lot of colours mixed in with it. And this is why I've got the other colour, which is 225 here. So that's like a mauvey tone as well. So now we've got another colour added to that. Now, before we go any further, we want to darken it off a little bit. Now the shadow is here. The light, as you can see, is hitting the cherry where it's hitting it, but we need the shadow and a little bit of depth around here. Don't want any more than that. And black is a devastating colour, so we don't want to put too much on. Gradually move in. And another thing we can do is put just a touch of black into the cherry like that. Now, make a note of that because it's really important. When we come back again, we blend it yet again, and this time the black goes in like that. Now it's a bit scary when you first do this. You think, oh, but I've made that too dark. Now you haven't, because you can bring back red again. The red comes back in, and it almost acts like a bit like a blender. This is quite a dark cherry, this particular one. Some of them are lighter than this. You see that black has changed, hasn't it? Changed colour. I think that's probably absolutely perfect. Filling all the pastel paper up, which is what the idea is. Okay, now we can come back in with our white. Now the white itself goes over the top, but what I want to do is to leave the trace of the red on the outside there, the influence of the colour, and then we want to bring the white back so we get a softer edge. Remember, you can still create, put more red on. Now just down here, I'm going to bring the white, but I'm going to fade it a little bit so that we get a sort of like a vague shine on it, like that, using the side of the pencil. See how that's working? Lovely. And in here, exactly the same thing as I've just done to there. We get that lovely, lovely colour. Okay, now we can just go back in with the red, and finally, just a little bit more red there, just to give ourselves a lovely. Terrific. Now that's basically one done. I mean, we can still come back with other colours. We can still put a little more red in that if we have to, but for the moment I'm going to leave it like that because I quite like that as it is. And I'm going to work on the next colour. So let's just do the other cherry. But this one is going to be slightly different because we have a couple of cherry stalks coming in here. Right there. Good. Same thing again. Don't go over those cherry stalks, otherwise we'll have a problem. Now, see, we have already, you can see that we have a difference between those two, because this is darker, and we can make that a little darker still. I'll show you that in a minute, as we separate the cherries out. And there. I mean, you could do these a few more. I'm just doing one at a time because obviously I shall advance this in a minute. and do a few more, because you don't want to see me do the same thing over and over and over again. And once again, the same idea, just go around the outside edge of that. See, that's going behind this time, and we've got another stalk to make it life a bit more complicated for us. Probably pay me in a moment to sharpen this red up. But I'll just continue here for the moment to show you how it works. Good. Now, as before, we blend it. Bring some white back in here, make sure that we keep that light. Okay. And we darken as before. Now each cherry that I do has to work against the other one. Let me show you what I mean by that. If I put light in there, Colin, wrong colour, put white in there, I meant to say, we have immediately we have that separation, and then once we put the red in, now here we've got a little problem because we've got two darks together, haven't we? Well, I'll show you in a minute how we're going to get over that. What it means doing, I'll show you, is making this a little darker here, like that. That's first of all with Indian red, and then with black, and then come up again. You see? And then I'll look down here with this a little more, and we separate them. Clever, isn't it? Yes, well, there we are. Now, we've got the Indian red in there, that's what I was doing before. And bear in mind, we don't want it just in on that, the deep part of it. We want it also, sorry folks, a little fiddly job. That's it. Yes, we don't want it just on the light, we want it into the red as well. And in here we want just a little black, not too much, just a little. That ties up with this, a little bit more there. Blend that in. And then bring the other one in. It's 225. And then the red back. And then you bring the white back. little bit more down there. Now, I shall advance a couple now. All these cherries here, this one and those two, are all the same. So I'll advance them the same way as I've done that. And then we'll come back and I'll show you how we then do the stalks.